Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about somatosensory pathways and what are these pathways. This video is going to be looking really at the neurons, where do the synapses occur, and a bit of a comparison between the dorsal root, the dorsal column pathway and the anterolateral pathway. So without further ado, let's get started. So the dorsal column, well, it's going to be dorsal column. It's going to be consistent of the two main nucleus, which are the nucleus cunatus and the nucleus gracilis. Remember that the nucleus gracilis is from the lower body because gracilis is a muscle in the leg, and nucleus cunatus is everything upper body, so the trunk, the limbs, and the head and neck. These guys will then go on to form a trigeminal nerve, and it will go very close to it'll go in fact in the third order neuron will be in the thalamus. So the main thing over here that we need to know is that the synapsing between the first and second neuron will occur in the beautiful brainstem over here, in the medulla, and they will travel in the median meniscus, so they will travel medially. And over here we have anterior and laterally. The anterior lateral pathways, the synapses will occur in the spinal cord over here, and in doing this, we need to know that it's gonna spinal cord, and doing the second order, they're gonna cross to the opposite sides. They're gonna form the first order neuron in the dorsal root of the gray matter, and they're gonna synapse in the dorsal root of the gray matter, and they cross to the opposite side of the cord, and they ascend through the anterior and lateral white columns of the cord, and they terminate at all levels of the brainstem and the thalamus. So now, what about the fourth order neuron? There's going to be somatosensory areas, the Brodmann's area 1 and 2, and the associate areas 5 and 7. What I also want to talk about is there are going to be 4 different neurons. So let's start with the first neuron. As you already know, that the first neuron for both of these are going to be they're going to be coming from the afferent sensory neurons, and they're going to be the sensory pathways. So in the sensory receptors, which are going to occur in the ganglion, in the cell bodies, in the cranial ganglion, and in the beautiful dorsal root ganglion. And they're going to synapse on the They're going to basically synapse on the somatosensory receptor cell. So that's about it. And then the second neuron is where the main differences come. The second order neuron is where the synapse. So the anterolateral, remember, it synapses pretty early on in the spinal cord, whereas the dorsal column will synapse in the brainstem, in the medulla. And over here we need to know that the second order neuron for both are going to be crossing the midline. The third main difference that I want to really highlight is going to be these neurons will then go on and they will be transmit to the thalamus, and they will be located in the somatosensory nuclei of the thalamus, and the thalamus has a somatotropic arrangement of somatosensory information. The fourth order neuron is the cortex. So in the anterolateral, they will be going to the Brodmann's area 1 and 2 and the associate areas 5 and 7. And in the dorsal column neuron, they're going to be going in, they're going to go and integrate complex informations, and they're going to form a somatosensory homunculus, which is going to be a map of the body, and these areas are going to be representative of the body, hands, fingers, and the face. The dorsal column system is going to be consistent of the touch, pressure, vibrations, two fibers, discriminations, and proprioceptions. The dorsal column system is going to be consistent of the group 1 and group 2 fibers. The first order neurons have their cell bodies in the dorsal root ganglion and in the cranial nerve cells. And they ascend ipsilaterally to the nucleus gracilis and the nucleus cunatus. And the next thing I want to talk to you about is what is discriminative touch. The dorsal column system is essentially very, very important for 2 types of touch. It's going to be called discriminative touch. So just imagine you close your eyes, you get your fingers, and you make them touch. This is called discriminative touch. You're able to touch 2 points and know the location of those 2 points with your eyes closed. This is called discriminative touch. I want to talk a bit about the differences between these two systems. So what are the main differences? The first one differences is, of course, where, like I said, is where do the second neurons occur. And then I want to talk a bit more about the nerves and how are they myelinated. So I want to generally tell you that the dorsal column is very fast because their nerve cells are very myelinated. So myelinated, and how fast can they travel? Well, they can travel 30 to 110 meters per second. That's very important, which I want to. They have a large myelinated. They can transmit. Signals to the brain at very high velocities, as I've said over here, 30 to 110 meters per second. Now let me talk a bit about the anterolateral system, and over here they are very smaller myelinated fibers, and when they are smaller myelinated fibers, well, they travel a bit slower because they are less myelinated, and they're going to travel around 40 meters per second or even slower. The next thing I want to talk about is going to be the next main difference. I'll just put it a bit down here. Sorry, is going to be the spatial orientation. So the nerve fibers, in respect to their origining, and while has much less spatial orientation. So I want to talk about this, that the dorsal column, the dorsal column medial lemniscus has a high degree of spatiation, whereas the anterolateral. So spatial orientation essentially means like how can the body orientate itself in space. So that would mean if you close your eyes, then could you be able to touch your nose? Could you be able to touch your chin? Could you be able to touch your teeth? Could you be able to walk straight with your eyes closed? So how can you spatially orient yourself? I want to talk a bit more about the functionality about these two, and I want to talk a bit more about the nerve fibers of both. I want to mainly tell you that dorsal column have very fast and, like I said, myelinated nerve fibers. So there are a group of fibers that's going to be called 1 and 2, which are very, very, very fast. They are highly myelinated, whereas we have over here in the anterolateral, they are much more slower. So from this, when you understand this concept of that this is going to be dorsal column medial lemniscus is going to be very fast group of fibers such as 1 and 2, then you can understand that there is going to be touch, pressure, anything fast. So anything vibration, 2-point discrimination, and proprioception. So you can see that they're going to be useful for transmitting somatosensory information about the touch, pressure, vibration, 2-point discrimination, and proprioception. The dorsal column system consists of group 1 and group 2 fibers, and the first order neurons have their cell bodies in the dorsal root ganglion cells, or the cranial nerve ganglion. They go ipsilaterally to the nucleus gracilis and the nucleus cuneatus. And then, as we know, we know about the third and the fourth. The main thing I want to be telling you that it's going to be anything fast. So what's fast? Touch, very fast. Pressure, fast. Vibrations, you know how fast is vibrations. And then 2-point discrimination, 2-point discrimination, and proprioception. You need to be very fast on this. So now let me tell you a bit more details about the examples of dorsal column medial lemniscus. So touch sensations, the phasic sensations, and the sensations, the signal movement against the skin, the position sensation of the joints, pressure sensation having to do with fine degree of judgment of pressure and intensity. So touch sensations requiring high degree of localization of stimulus. Touch sensations which require transmission of fine gradations of intensity, of phasic sensations, which is going to be vibratory sensations, and guess with what? The Pacman corpuscle, the same corpuscle. Now, what else do I need to talk about? The position sensation of joints. Again, a point of proprioception, like I said previously. And where, what am I missing? Pressure? Yes. Pressure. Pressure sensations. So, yep, basically everything I told you over there. Pressure sensations, to do with fine degrees of judgment of pressure intensity. Very nicely done over here. We're missing one more, which I'm going to say sensations that signal movement against the skin. So yeah, so let me repeat myself again. So there's going to be touch sensations, which is going to be high degree of localization of stimulus, and the touch sensations require transmissions of fine gradations of intensity, and then you have phasic sensation, which is going to be vibrations, and then after that we have a proprioception. So then the position sensation of joints, any the pressure sensations, they have to do with fine degree of judgment of pressure intensity. So yeah, need to mention pressure positioning, 2-point discrimination, mention sensations, transmissions of fine gradations of intensity, high degree of localization of stimulus. Now the next thing I want to talk about is going to be the one and only anterolateral system. The anterolateral system is going to be about the pain, basically over here I didn't tell you anything, the theory behind this. So this is going to be, as we know, dorsal root will have a group of 1 and 2, over here being group of 3 and 4 nerve fibers. So these are less myelinated, so therefore they are slower in velocity of transmission or transmission of nerve impulses, transmits nerve impulses, light touch, and so these are going to be about first, the second, the third, and they're going to cross the midline. So what's the difference between slow and fast? And let me explain to you. Fast pain is going to be carried about by a delta of group carry out an a delta on group 2 and group 3 fibers has a rapid set and offset and is precisely localized. Then there's me slow pain, for example burn or your itchiness, which is going to be done by a C fibers burn, and then we're going to have referred pain, which is going to be visceral origin, and this is going to be about the dermatomal rule. The dermatomal rule basically states that anything at the any organ will any innervated nerves arise from the spinal segments as those innervating the visceral organs. Thus, according to the dermatomal rune, the ischemia of the heart is going to be referred to the chest and shoulder pains. So, innervated by nerve arising from the spinal